to stay. I'm here to stay.
clean sheet, a win and back up to 10th. A week is certainly a long time in football, isn't it? And what was needed was delivered, a response against MK Dons after that disappointing defeat against Ipswich. Today is all about building upon that, and if the boys can pick up another 3 points, then it will be free on the spin here at the Valley. Standing in our way are relegation-threatened Morecambe, who are desperately in need of the points themselves. They are currently 3 points from safety with 3 matches to go, so anything less than a win today will leave them in serious trouble. As it's a Saturday, we are only permitted to live stream today's match outside of the UK and Ireland, as per EFL broadcast rules. If you are overseas, remember that if you are watching on the Charlton app, then you can cast today's game onto your smart TV from your mobile or tablet. We have got a packed pre-game show to bring you before kick-off. Here is a little taster of what is to come. We will hear exclusively from manager Dean Holden, who I spoke to a little earlier this afternoon. And we've got a former Addicts League One title winner with us today, so we will be taking a trip down memory lane with him. And Tyrell Thomas has enjoyed a fruitful spell in the team in the last few weeks. He helped us to a clean sheet on Tuesday night, so we will hear from him before kick-off. I am delighted to be joined in the studio by Alan Curbishley, and there is more than just one champion in the room this afternoon. We have this man alongside us as well. He only scores screamers. I'm delighted to welcome to Charlton TV Dale Stephens. Dale, how does it feel to be back at the Valley?
Yeah, it's lovely to be back. I even took the journey from where I used to live this morning, so it was very familiar. And even driving through the gates and finding the car park spot, it was a good feeling.
Did you park in your car park spot? Were you one of those players that always had a specific place that you like to pull up at?
No superstition in the parking spot. It's obviously lovely coming through the driveway of the gates this morning. Brought back some good memories. Yeah,
lots of happy memories which we will explore with you throughout the afternoon. Now, you recently announced your retirement from the game, a big step for you. How was it announcing that retirement and coming to that decision?
Look, I think in everyone's career at some point you become an ex-player, and I think I just looked at it in that situation. I've been out of contract since May last year, and some things didn't happen for a reason. For several reasons, really. The way my body was feeling, it was probably the right time for me to stop playing.
Kevs, it's great to be joined by Dale this afternoon. I think a lot of our supporters, when they saw you were joining us in the studio, thought, hang on a minute, he could probably do a job in our midfield still.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been hearing about Dale is very similar to my squads, and he's been talking about Powley's team. First and foremost, and you've seen a lot of the ex-players coming here, first and foremost, it's about the team spirit and the group, and well, we're going to call them group now, don't we? But anyway, the squad and whatever. But everyone's got to get on with everyone, and even if there is one or two that ain't perhaps all with it, they join in as much as they can, and it's all about team spirit. And then once you start getting the consistent results, that can take you a long way.
And I hear that you're off to the semi-final tomorrow, a massive game for Brighton. There's always been a really nice affiliation, I think, between Brighton and Charlton supporters. You must be so pleased to see your former club doing so well.
Yeah, it's not a huge surprise that they're playing in a FA Cup semi-final against Man United. I'm probably make them favourites tomorrow. I hope they win, and I'm probably expecting them to go there and win. But yeah, I think it's just an accumulation of a lot of hard work from a lot of good people at the football club to get on where they are at the moment.
Because Brighton are an example, I think, of an extraordinarily well-run football club. They have their roots in the community just like we do, the progression of both their men's and women's team and the facilities as well. You're going to head to the semi-final yourself. Who are you backing?
Brighton.
Yeah.
I'm being invited because I play for Brighton like Dow, and I've been obviously following ever since I played at the Goldston, so that's been built on there. That's like a superstore. But the move was the best one because the stadium they got now is fantastic. And it's funny, I was saying to Dale that the owner now, when I was at Brighton, I think his granddad or his uncle was on the board when I was there, Ray Bloom, and now Tony Bloom's the chairman. So I've always kept a keen eye on what Brighton have been doing, and I just think it's fantastic.
Curbs, everything they do is fantastic, and for anyone that hasn't been to Brighton, another thing that they deliver is fantastic pies. And we had a certain Steve Brown in here a few minutes ago, didn't we, getting his pie before heading to the commentary box? Because now we have a big game here this afternoon. For Charlton, we have got our sights focused on that 10th position, but for Morecambe, this is a huge game. What kind of contest are you expecting this afternoon?
Yeah, it could be tricky. You know, I think Charlton have just got to go away the business that they have in the previous few weeks. You know, another plus that they want to finish the season strong and have a good feeling going into next season, especially over the summer. You know, they're going to be trying recruiting players. You know, the players are going to be looking at how they've gone on the season before, and you know, I think it's important that, you know, because these games can be tricky. You know, you're probably expected to win at home, and if you don't turn up psychologically, it's a different challenge. So it's a big test for them.
Curbs, I left you alone in the studio for a couple of games, and I feel like in those 90 minutes as well, it has epitomised what has been an inconsistent campaign for Charlton so far. We've said it many, many times, haven't we? And Dale alludes to the point. It's important to put a performance out there, not just so much for this season, but with one eye to the next and recruiting the kind of calibre of player that we'd like.
We've got to make ourselves attractive in the summer. So finishing strongly, I mean, if Dean can go to prospective players and say, look, you know, we won 6 out of our last 8, and you know, I've got a decent squad, but I need you as well. And, you know, the talk that you have to go through. But for me, I just think that Ipswich showed us how far away we were from being in that top 2. And we bounced back, though. That was the great thing. You know, it could have left a bit of a mark. We bounced back on Tuesday, MK Dons. And now, no disrespect, we've got a run of games that we should be thinking we're going to take the points. But it's this home form. We've got to start making a bit of a statement here, because if we're going to get promoted, you're going to win most of your points here. And we've not, over the last couple of years, made it that difficult as it should be. So finish strongly, win the 2 home games we've got, and hopefully we can look at better things next year.
That sounds like a good plan of action to me. We have got so much coming up ahead of kick-off here on Charlton TV, but let's find out how the Addicts are going to line up. I spoke to manager Dean Holden earlier this afternoon. Dean, thank you so much for joining me. Back at the Valley after 2 tough away games, a couple of days on from that win at MK Dons. I was just wondering, what pleased you most about the way that we bounced back there?
Probably the character that the players showed early in the game. We knew, I said before my presser yesterday, Thursday, I think we knew there was going to be a 20-minute sort of game plan because of the natural break for the Ramadan. For one of the MK Dons players, so we really went after him in that 20 minutes, and ideally we would have scored a goal, but it was more about getting touches the ball. The previous experience the players had 3 days early was not a good one on the pitch, and it was important that we reframed them on the back of that. We didn't go overboard, we addressed it, and they showed real personality, I thought, in that 20 minutes, and that made me really confident in terms of the way that the game was going to pan out. You could see players, we wanted the ball, they were showing courage to get on the ball and to play, and we pressed well. And ultimately won the game with a fantastic goal from Payne, which was pleasing again. You know, another player that's been out of the team that's come in. Something I spoke to them about yesterday in the team meeting, which is that when players have been out for a period of time and then come in, it doesn't just happen by magic. They have to have been training well to keep the match fitness, the sharpness, keep their head up, which is all players want to play, obviously. So there was a lot of pleasing things, but certainly to get the 1-0 result, I think it was a perfect result.
And our winning goal came in the middle of a period of real sustained pressure from us. What was the key to sort of that moment and unlocking that opportunity to score the all-important goal?
Patience, probably more than anything, because you know we played an opponent who was sitting really quite deep in that sort of mid to low block in their own half of the pitch, and it's not easy to break them down. And there was moments where you're thinking, go on, take a shot, or cross it, but we did that probably a little bit too early in the first half, so we probably went the other way at the end of the spectrum in that opening 10 minutes of the second half. But after that, we grew again into the game, and I think it was only a matter of time before we went and scored. And spoke about swinging corners in from swinging and putting it under the pressure of the opponent. They've gone short. I'm turning around hazy, going, "What's he doing?" So it was off the cuff. It was the players have got freedom to do that. If they see something, go and do it and commit to it. And yeah, fantastic goal.
And focusing back on today, how are we going to line up against Morecambe?
Yes, we made one change to starting 11. Aaron Henry comes into midfield to replace Scotty Fraser, which will naturally release Albie Morgan a little bit higher up the pitch. I think I think it's important that we get Aaron Henry some minutes. He's been performing excellently in training. Another one of our wonderful young talented players, and today gets his start.
And looking at Morecambe's situation, they're in a more precarious position than MK Dons. They desperately need the points. Where will their threats come from today?
Well, they're physically good in terms of second ball. We know that's important. I remember the game only a few weeks ago up at their place, which actually started this good run that we've been on. Second ball game are important for us. I think Jensen Weir in midfield is a fantastic young player on loan from Brighton. Plays on that right hand side, tucked in as like a narrow sort of 10. Hunter, if he plays, we don't know if he's going to play. And then it's Cole Stockton or Nias up front down the middle. And yeah, they're a team, as you say, that are fighting for their life. We won't take them lightly. You know, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to continue our home form. We've been scoring plenty of goals here recently, and it's an opportunity for us to go and do so again, but making sure that the mindset's right.
We've got back-to-back home games, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but only 2 sets of 90 minutes left here at the Valley this season. 6 points aside, what do you want to get out of these final remaining home games?
2 strong performances. I think we've shown real character in the last couple of home games. I think the home record overall has not been as good as we want it to be next season, so it's an opportunity to put a marker down, to show our supporters what it's like to come to the Valley and see a team that are giving everything, that are playing entertaining football, but fighting and tackling and running and scoring plenty of goals. So, yeah, sending the supporters home happy towards the end of the season is the biggest thing.
Thanks for joining me, Dean, and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Great to hear from manager Dean Holden there, and here is confirmation of the starting 11 for today's game against Morecambe. The one change confirmed, Aaron Henry coming into midfield. Kaz, what do you make of Dean's selection choice today?
Well, he's right, but you know, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks about giving the young players a chance, but then where Dean's at the moment, he needs to finish as strong as he can. I think we've got enough young players in there, but he's obviously seen Emery in training and he just feels he's got to give him a game before the end of the season, and this may be the perfect game. I think he'll hold his space with Dobson and allow Albie Morgan to play the number 10 role. But as I said earlier, down the spine, you know, you've got Maynard Brewer, we've got Hess to come back in. Now you've got Emery and you've got Leeburn. Right down the spine is homegrown talent.
Dale, it's perfect that selection's been made, because it'd be fantastic to tap into your knowledge, of course, being a midfielder, to see what you make of Aaron Henry. Technically, he's such a gifted player, yet another one that's come through the ranks. Have you had many opportunities to watch or follow Charlton so far this season? And if so, are there any players that you're really looking forward to watching today?
Well, I did my homework during the week from watching the highlights from. I think I watched every game from the 7-0 Shrewsbury game.
There were definitely some highlights from that last weekend. I think you could have skipped.
Well, I think that's half the problem, not the problem, but the way they can improve. I don't think you can go from winning by such a big margin to then obviously losing by such a margin. I think that's what will be frustrating for the manager. There's got to be some level of consistency. You know, if they're not keeping clean sheets, it's not just, you know, the back four or the midfield three's fault. You know, it's the defend within a unit. You know, somewhere in that unit, someone's not doing enough. But there's firepower in that team. Obviously, I've seen during the week when I was watching the clips, and they can score goals for sure. Yeah,
definitely. So many young, exciting players in the team. But just mentioning on Dale's point about the defensive stabilities, it was a perfect result, as Dean described, because that clean sheet on Tuesday was so important. And we see Tyrell playing alongside Michael Hector. How did you rate that partnership on the week?
You know, Innes getting sent off and now having a 3-match ban, is it? It's 3 matches, wasn't it?
Second one today, yeah.
So it gives him a chance to play in the position he wants to play in. I mean, I quite liked a centre-half playing at left back, because it means you can go into a free quite comfortable if you wanted to. But he obviously wants to play next to Hector where he's playing today. So I'll be interested to see how he goes, because Hector's come in from nowhere and was really doing great, and then he had a little bit of a wobble at Ipswich and came back on Tuesday. So, and for him, he's out of contract. I think he is, isn't he? So that's the other side of it, is that we've got 3 or 4 players that have got to impress Dean if they want to stay here.
Yeah, there's a lot more on the line perhaps than many would think looking ahead of this fixture. Let's have a little look at the table now, and we're going to start with the bottom half, because of course this is such a significant game for Morecambe. They are 3 points adrift, having played a game more than the 2 teams above them. Dale, that is a lot of pressure on those players, isn't it, down at the bottom, fighting for their lives. Do you think they're going to come to Charlton today and they just have to see it as a winnable match, don't they? They don't have any choice looking at that.
Certainly right. I don't think they're not going to come here anything other than thinking we have to win a football match. But they come into a place where Charlton have not been fantastic at home. You know, so you know, I think they've got to fancy their chances of coming in and getting a result. They'll make it difficult to play against. You know, they won't let, you know, Charlton get their rhythm in terms of, you know, keeping possession. You know, I imagine they'll be, you know, high press, full throttle, and very physical, like Dean alluded to.
Right, let's have a little look at the top half of the table now. And as I said, we are back up to 10th following Tuesday's win at MK Dons. The top three all won on Tuesday night, with all their victories coming via a 2-1 scoreline. Plymouth and Ipswich both came from 1-0 down to win, with Plymouth bagging a stoppage time winner against Shrewsbury, which did us a little bit of a favour too. Lincoln's goalless draw at home to Barnsley on Tuesday saw them rise one place to 11th, and the only other movers in midweek were Peterborough, who moved up to 5th by winning away at Accrington Stanley. Now, that is quite some promotion race. So you make any calls on the playoffs or automatic promotion?
I think, well, what you can see there, I think that obviously the best 2 or 3 teams are probably where they should be. You know, Sheffield Wednesday have dropped off a little bit of late, but I think it's just the nature of the division. You know, it's demanding physically. You know, there's games 2-3 times a week, and you know, obviously the players know that, and you know, the players have been used to that to a certain extent, and you know, the challenge doesn't get any easier with the remaining fixtures that we've got left.
Yeah, as Dale alludes to there, the fixtures are coming thick and fast, and there is a full League One programme this afternoon, with all 12 games kicking off at 3 p.m. All of the 5 teams below us, only Fleetwood Town, are at home this afternoon. They welcome MK Dons to Highbury Stadium. Meanwhile, Lincoln in 11th travel to Wycombe Wanderers, and Shrewsbury Town go to Bolton. So hopefully the home sides can do us a little bit of a favour there. At the very top, Plymouth face Cambridge United at Home Park. They would take a huge step towards promotion if they can win today. Meanwhile, Ipswich in second have a tough looking trip to Peterborough United. Sheffield Wednesday will be hoping that Plymouth and Ipswich both slip up, and they'll need to be ready to take advantage of that at home to Exeter today. Right, let's take a little pause on proceedings today to bring you some updates from around the football club. And we will start with ticketing news as always, and all club season tickets are now available to purchase for the 2023-24 campaign. Men team season tickets, Valley Express season tickets, seasonal hospitality and women's team season tickets are all on sale. You can find out more information about each of them and purchase by heading to cafc.co.uk. Please remember that the Phase 1 price deadline for men's team season tickets is midnight on the 12th of May, so make sure that you buy them before then to secure the cheapest possible price. After today, we have got one more home game to come this season, and that is next Saturday against Port Vale. Tickets for that match are on sale, with adult prices starting at £23 each. We've won 2 from 2 at home since the clocks have gone forward, and hopefully by the time Port Vale come to town, it will be 3 from 3. Tickets for the Port Vale match can be purchased by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. 24 hours after that Port Vale match, the Charlton's women's team will conclude their Barclays Women's Championship season here at the Valley when they host local rivals Crystal Palace. As things stand now, Karen Hills' Addicts could yet secure a second place finish, so it would be fantastic to see a big crowd here to support them. Charlton head to champions-elect Bristol City tomorrow before then facing Palace the following Sunday. Tickets for the Palace game are priced at £10 for adults and £5 for concession, and you can get yours by heading to that all-important website, booking.cafc.co.uk. Charlton under-21s will take on Hendon at Princes Park in the semi-finals of the London Senior Cup on Wednesday, April the 26th. The tie will kick off at 7 p.m, and the Addicts secured their place in the last 4 by beating Barking 5-0 on Tuesday evening. Goals from Ewan Williams and Nathan Asimwe had Danny Sender's men 2-0 up and heading into the final few minutes before a late double from Kai Enslin and another strike from Ryan Hugh added some real gloss to the scoreline. Fans are encouraged to go and show their support for the under-21s at Princes Park on Wednesday, and should also note that as it is a cup match, it is a ticket-only game. Valley Gold members will therefore need to purchase a ticket on the gate to gain entry to the match. I am delighted to say that a further 3 former addicts have been announced for our upcoming Legends game against Portsmouth on Saturday, May the 20th. Sasha Illick will be putting his gloves back on and he'll be protected by 2 Chris's in defence. Chris Perry will be dusting off his boots and he will be joined by Chris Solly, who has recently captained Ebbsfleet United to the National League South title. The Legends game event will conclude our 30 years back at the Valley celebrations, with Pompey, of course, having been our first opponents at the Valley following our return home in December 1992. Tickets for the Legends game are on sale now and you can get yours by visiting that all-important website booking.cafc.co.uk. Lastly, let's now hear from Charlton Upbeats ambassador Dave Berry.
Hello, fellow Charlton Athletic fans. Dave Berry here, proud ambassador of the award-winning Charlton Athletic Community Trust. Now, all us Charlton fans are aware that it is Upbeats Day on the last game of the season, and I am delighted to announce that I will be there on the day to welcome all you walking the 9 miles over the finish line at the Valley. After that, I will proudly take my place as part of the Charlton commentary team for the Upbeats game against Everton, and we'll be conducting pitchside interviews with players and maybe a few special guests as well. I am so looking forward to being involved. So, here is my call to action. If you would like to take part in the 9-mile walk from the training ground to the Valley, click on the link that will be provided to sign up. Or, if you can't join us, please scan the QR code to donate money to the Upbeats project. Please support the Charlton Upbeats, as all the money is needed to keep this great project going. And I will see you at the Valley on the 29th of April.
Fantastic to hear from Dave there, and I'm looking forward to joining many of you to take part in that walk. Although I was saying to these guys off camera, I can barely get up the stairs at the Valley, so it's going to be a test of my fitness, that's for sure. But if you want to find out more information, then please head to cafc.co.uk. On the subject of fitness and fundraising, thousands upon thousands of runners are going to jog past here at the Valley tomorrow because it is London Marathon Day, and many addicts supporters amongst them, including a lifelong fan, Lewis, who spoke to James Sherwood earlier today, pitchside.
Lewis, absolute pleasure to have you here, my man, donning some vintage Charlton colours as well. But we've got to talk about tomorrow. 26.2 miles of the London Marathon coming your way. How are you feeling about that prospect?
Yeah, feeling really nervous. It's obviously a massive distance to cover, but I've trained as much as I can. I've got a lot of people along the way to support me, so yeah, looking forward to getting it over and done with and not running for a while.
It's a kind of excitable nerves to a certain extent?
Yeah, I think I'm feeling quite good now because I know I've got to watch Charlton play Morecambe and hopefully we win, but I think once I get into bed tonight, I think the nerves will probably start to kick in.
Talk to me a little bit about your preparation for running that distance. What have you had to do?
So yeah, I was using the Nike training plan. It was just like a free plan. It worked really well for me. Started off with like really short runs, like 5K, 6K, 7Ks. They were nice and easy. Well, I say easy. And then when you start getting to like 10 miles, 12 miles, speed runs, all that kind of stuff, it really, really put into perspective sort of the miles you've got to cover. So you never run 26 miles before you run the marathon, so it's an unknown. So hoping for the best.
Have you done anything like this before?
No, never. The most I've ever run, well, in this training plan was, I think I got up to 18 miles. But in terms of running previously, I think the most I've ever done was like 10K. So this is really new territory for me. But
the last 7 days or so has been a good week, right? It's the week where you don't run, and I hear you was at the pub last night.
Yeah, well, grass. Yeah, no, it's definitely been a little bit chill the last couple of weeks as we get closer to it. So yeah, hoping I've done everything I can. I don't think there's anything more I can do now. So hopefully, yeah, get through and be happy.
Early on in your run tomorrow, you'll be heading down the Woolwich Road, get a little glimpse of the Valley. Will that help spur you on initially? Let's almost talk about the race tactically. You know, will you be looking to impose yourself, or will you sit back initially? Well,
I've seen a few strategies where people have tried to sprint and lead the marathon, and I don't think that will be me.
No Mo Farah?
No, definitely not. You won't be seeing me giving it the old Mo. But no, yeah, it'd be nice to see the Valley and go past it. Obviously, I've got to go past Bermondsey later on in the run, and if that doesn't get me down, nothing will. So we'll see.
It. You're running for the mental health charity Mind. Is that for any particular reason?
Yeah, so I've got a lot of friends and family members that have benefit from the charity. They do some fantastic work, and so many people suffer with sort of mental health conditions, and it's really come to the forefront in the last couple of years. So it's nice to know that people are getting the support they need. So any money I've raised is helping that, and that's all it's all about.
And talking about support, across your 26.2 miles, who's going to be cheering you on across the journey?
So yeah, I've got all my friends and family lined up. All my best mates will be there, except my friend Josh is in Jamaica, so I won't say anything horrible about him. But I've got my mum and dad and all my family sort of tactically placed with jelly babies and some paracetamol, so hopefully that will see me through.
Well, if you can pin yourself a Charlton badge somewhere on what you're going to be wearing, I'm sure there'll be plenty of fans that will give you a cheer as well across the distance. But good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Lewis, much appreciated all you're doing for that charity Mind as well. And now back over to you in the studio, Charlotte.
Lewis, you absolute legend. Good luck to you and all the Charlton supporters taking part in the London Marathon tomorrow. If you spot an addict jogging and going through that pain, then make sure you give them a loud cheer. Right, Dale, without further ado, are you ready to take a trip down memory lane?
Yeah, let's watch some clips from a long time ago, shall we?
Well, we've seen some screamers already, but let's rewind to the very start of your Charlton career. And it was in the summer of 2011. You'd left Oldham and you had a lot of clubs chasing your signature. And my first question to you, why Charlton? Why did you come here?
I'm not so sure about the lot of clubs chasing me point, but yeah, I definitely knew obviously Charlton was an option at that time. You know, I was saying to Alan earlier on this afternoon, I think it was just more of an overall feeling of, you know, we signed 18 players. I was one of 18 players coming in that summer transfer window. So obviously the backing from the top to the bottom was there. You know, it was an ambitious football club, and that's what they were selling to the players. You know, we wanted to try and get promoted, and to do it the way we did it, you know, it was obviously extra special.
You're being very humble because there were a lot of clubs, but you make the point, which is one that you have made many times, Curbs. Dean might be in a similar position this summer with a big recruitment phase ahead of him, wanting to recruit players of a high calibre and bring them to the club to be able to sell what this football club is all about, which is probably the same as back in 2011.
Yeah, listen, I've said it earlier, and I said it earlier over in the lounge there, and I've mentioned it a few times that, you know, when you sign a player, you know their football ability. You don't ask questions about it because you've already got you're signing him, but you have to find out what's he like. You know, how is he? Is he good in training? What's he like off the field? You have to try and do your own work because you want to bring people in. You don't always get it right. I got it wrong on a few occasions. That bring people in, they just didn't get it. They didn't get us, and you know, that's a problem. But if you do the homework, the other side of it, and you soon find out, and I'm sure Dale, because listen, I signed Chrissy twice, didn't I? I signed Chrissy and then got him back again, and a similar sort of thing. He would have done his homework on all these players. Although there was a lot coming in, he'd have done his homework. Can they come in here and understand what this club's about and what I want from them, and what sort of personality are they? That's as much. You've got to do that now, as much as what's their football ability, because you know that. That's why you signed them.
Now, Dale, you might not remember this, but our first goal of that title-winning league campaign was scored against you by you here at the Valley. Let's take a look at it. Great way to start your career here at the Valley.
Yeah, it was Bournemouth at home, wasn't it? Yeah, a debut goal. I think I might have got an assist as well that day, so yeah, it was obviously what I wouldn't have dreamt it got any better, to be fair.
And although it was very early on in the season, how quickly did you and that group of new recruits sense that you were onto something quite special?
Well, I think obviously because we had Chris Powell as our manager, he understood the football club. He knew what sort of culture was here or what should be here. And obviously the players needed to buy into that because he demonstrated and told us weekly what it was about. I think we all got the gist of it really quick. But in terms of like the recruitment side of it, we recruited players who were playing obviously for some smaller clubs in that division, who were probably getting, you know, wanted to progress in up the league and up the divisions. So I think we took some players from lower clubs, we took players from the Championship that maybe weren't playing too often. And it just created a really good atmosphere in terms of the older ones looked after the younger ones, they led by example, but all that came from obviously the manager at the time.
It highlights, Curbs, what an exceptional job Powley did and how he blended those characters together. Let's have a look at another one of your goals against a former club, Bury, and we'd been down 1-0 at this point. How does this goal rank in terms of those that you scored in your career?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I remember feeling exhausted. It was a Tuesday night. And when the ball rolled back to me, I just thought, just take a chance and hit it. Didn't really aim for a position in the goal. It was just please hit the target. Yeah, and I had just about enough energy to wheel away and celebrate it.
Well, when we look at your goals, you score these screamers, but also you had a real capability to make those good, positive runs into the box and always seem to be in the right place at the right time. Was that a part of your game that you really worked on and developed?
Yeah, I think probably when I was a bit younger, I was more of an 8, more a box-to-box type player. I'm sure if you showed the Brighton fans that video, they'd be wondering why I was so high up the pitch. You know, and I think as you make the step up and obviously going into the Championship and then maybe playoff level, you know, it becomes more difficult to arrive in the box. If you're playing in a 2, it's more difficult. You've got to pick and choose when you go. And I think obviously the higher the level I played in, you know, it wasn't as easy as to arrive in the box. Like you see the best players do it at ease. So my game became like more positional, and I probably developed that from being 27, 28.
It's fascinating to hear how your role had adapted throughout the levels, because you came through the whole football pyramid, scored many, many important goals, but I don't think any can rank more important from a Charlton perspective than this one against Wycombe, which sealed the title for us. Can you remember what that feeling was like when the ball left your boot? And I hope we can watch it on replay, because there's something else I want to pick out after.
Yeah, there was a knockback, weren't there? Was it Hazy or Jacko headed the ball back to the penalty spot? And I always tried, more in my younger days, I always tried to make the penalty spot, try and arrive on it. If the ball would, you know, stay up the pitch, we'd try and get our centre forwards to hold the ball. It just gave us midfield players and wingers and attacking players, you know, that chance to get in the box, and hopefully one falls to you, which this one obviously does.
Because the point I wanted to make was your instinct. You know, we talk about you being this kind of midfield machine, but you did have that almost striker's instinct. Look at you, you're going to be like, no, what are you talking about? Striker's instinct move. But it was really part of your game, certainly here in a Charlton shirt, that really I think fans will recall so fondly. You came up with big goals and big moments.
Yeah, I think, when I signed from Oldham, I think I'd scored 10 goals. I think 6 were penalties, but no one really looks at the stats of where the goals are coming from. So I came with a reputation of scoring 10 goals from centre midfield. But yeah, I tried. Listen, I was a young player full of energy. I could run, I could pass, and I would try and just get in the right over at the right time. And yeah, fortunately through that, especially that first year, you know, I scored a few important goals for us.
Now, Dale, on Charlton TV, we always love a really good story, don't we? Because we like to hear things that we haven't heard before. Tell us, what was that night like when you celebrated winning the Championship? What can you tell us?
The Championship one, or the League One?
Yeah, the League One one, and
we
become the champions.
Well, we did it at Carlisle away, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think the goal was, yeah, to be fair, we did it properly. We flew, didn't we? It was the first time we flew.
There we go.
We firstly won promotion at Carlisle with Lenny Lawrence to the Premier League, and we went by bus and we ate in a service station.
Love that. Did you ever celebrate at McDonald's where you were enjoying the celebrations up in the skies?
Yeah, to be fair, as a football club, we did what we could within, you know, within the financial system or whatever you want to call it. We did what we could with what we had. And obviously the chairman backed us to fly up and try and win the league. You know, it was a cross. I think Jacko played the cross, hid it back. I think Bradley Wright Phillips tapped it in, or he tried to nick my goal basically. But yeah, it was an amazing occasion. Obviously the first promotion that I'd been involved in. You know, after the first year of joining a massive football club, it was a way to cap off what had been an amazing year.
And your career has been absolutely amazing, and I know when you recently announced your retirement, the outpouring from every club you've been a part of is absolute testament to you, and a new exciting chapter awaits. But as we wrap up this little trip down memory lane, I just wondered overall, what are your reflections on your time here at the Valley? What are kind of the fondest memories that you take away?
Just what I said earlier, just the main reflection was I was coming to this massive football club with a desire to get better. I think that was the main pull for all them players that we had. You know, I was coming from Oldham, who's perhaps not as big a club as Charlton, well, they're not. I came from Bury before that. So this was the first opportunity I had to play for a big football club. I used to love coming to training every day. You know, it was a proper training ground, proper stadium. You know, we were scoring goals, winning football matches, and the crowd were getting behind us every single week. You know, if you could ask for a perfect season, you know, that's certainly one of mine for sure.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, I hope you have enjoyed that little trip down memory lane as much as we have, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Really looking forward to how you find this afternoon at the Valley and peeking and digging into your expertise as well. So thank you ever so much.
No problem. Excited to watch it.
Good stuff. Well, focusing back on today, on Tuesday night, Tyrell Thomas switched from the left back into his natural centre back role. He's been a really influential player on the back four in recent weeks and months. I caught up with Tyrell earlier on today. Tyrell, thank you so much for joining me. Let's start with Tuesday. It was the perfect way to bounce back. How pleased were you to help the team get a clean sheet?
I was overly pleased. It was good to go away to them and bounce back from the huge disappointment that was the Ipswich game. But we put in a solid performance defensively as a team, because they were a bit of a tricky opposition in the way they attack, and they have a lot of use their number 10s and to pin you back. But as a team, we done really well, and on the offense as well. The boys up there done the business, and we gave them the thing to grow on, the thing to bounce off with the clean sheet.
And it was another change in position for you on Tuesday, kind of switching back to that more natural centre-back role for yourself. How much did you enjoy playing alongside Michael Hector in the back four?
No, I really enjoy it. Obviously, I was next to him before anyways. I was left back, and he was right centre-back, so we've already got built quite a decent relationship and knowing how each other work. And yeah, he's really brings calmness to the back four, and communication is good, and we communicate really well. So yeah, so I really enjoyed it.
Given what happened at Ipswich, what was said amongst the players and staff ahead of the game at MK Dons?
It's fantastic to have another game in 3 days, because sometimes you got to go a whole week, and it can sort of dawn on you, be a bit daunting, and thinking, oh, we need another game to get going. But you can't, you off Sunday, you come Monday, prep the game Tuesday, it can be out, it's out the way, innit? So it was really good to have another game within a couple of days to dust ourselves down and bounce back, which we've done.
And we are back up to 10th now. Is it our aim to try and make sure that we finish the season there?
Yeah, that's what we've said between the whole squad, is that we would want to get that 10th position. I know Portsmouth are a few more points ahead of us, but ahead of that, so securing 10th will be a nice little way to end the season.
And personally for you, how important are these final 3 games of the season?
Personally, I want to win. So, and I want to play. So, it's not really much different to any other game. If there's a game on Saturday, I want to play, and then I want to win. So, 3 points is the main thing that I love for at 5 p.m. So, yeah, nothing really changes for me.
Great stuff. And finally, it wasn't that long ago that we played against Morecambe, got a really good result at their place. What kind of test can we expect from them this afternoon, do you think?
I think they'll be a bit more resolute, because obviously the way we played up there was very high tempo, and we got through their lines quite well. So maybe they might come and sit off us for a bit, depending on who they've got up top. We know there's 2 different players they've got, who one want to chase, one might want to sit off a bit. So it just depends really on their starting 11. You never know what their game plan's going to be, but yeah, maybe they'll be a bit more reserved and conservative, allow us to have the ball. So it might be a game where we have to really be patient and break them down.
Well, best of luck, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Fantastic to hear from Tyrell Thomas. Curbs, I have a real bugbear when it comes to football. Gloves in April. What is going on? We need to get those off before kick-off, don't we? Got to be a tough tackling centre-back. But on a more serious note, Tyrell has performed exceptionally in recent weeks, and we were talking off-air about how sometimes players can be a bit pigeonholed in their roles, but he's shown that he can be really adaptable.
Well, he's shown Dean that he can play left-back, he's shown Dean he can play in a 3, and he can play in a 2. So very versatile, which is fantastic for him and for Dean and the club. We've been talking about some of these young players coming through, and I'll keep going on about it. About 7 or 8 games ago, it was an opportunity for Dean to bring him in, but I was already in there. So he couldn't bring too many in. But we've got another one playing today, Emery. So, the kids are coming through, which is great.
There are so many players to keep an eye on and see how they get on this afternoon, not just because of this afternoon, but because of their careers and whether they'll be playing for Charlton next season as well. We spoke at the very start of the show about how important it was for the team to bounce back after last weekend's defeat against Ipswich. They did that, and in quite some style, a very important 1-0 win against MK Dons. Let's have a little look back at some of the highlights from that game. Curbs, give me your take. You're in the studio watching it. We've seen some shots coming in from Jonathan Lecco. MK Dons struggling at the bottom. What was the match like from your perspective?
Well, obviously it was a bit tentative at the start after the 6-0. We didn't want to perhaps venture too far out of our half, and we didn't really. But as the game grew on, the second half was a dominant side and deserved to win it. And you're talking about teams down the bottom fighting for their lives, but sometimes the pressure that involves, you know, detracts from their performance, and it did for MK Dons. I think they didn't really perform, and you'd have thought they'd have come into the game after us getting beat 6. They'd fancy it a little bit, but that's what happens when you're under pressure, and they were under a little bit of pressure. We got better in the second half. It's a great shot from Sessegnon.
And Dal, I know you didn't see the game, but coming off of the back of a 6-0 defeat, a 1-0 win away from home is a really good way to respond, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure it would really delight the manager. You know, I think he would have been questioning himself over the team, over his, you know, his selection of formation, for example. You know, all things would have gone through his mind after obviously the defeat. But for the boys to react like they did away from home, yeah, it's a challenge they accepted, and look that they took on.
And we're going to see Jack Payne, a player who would have had the disappointment having been sent off here, come up with the match winner, and it was a really lovely strike, wasn't it, Curbs?
Yeah, Ben signed him, and when he signed him, I think from Swindon, wasn't it? He was talking that he's a midfield player that makes a goal and scores a goal, but he's not really been given an opportunity to have a decent run in the side. He's been in and out, and as you say, got sent off and whatever. But for me, he's the sort of player that if you said to him, "You're playing there today," he'd go and do it. You know, he's one of them sort of kids, and he played on the left on Tuesday. And when I heard that Fraser had been left out today, or whatever, I thought he might have gone in Fraser's position because he is a number 10. But no, Emery's come in, so that changed it. But he's one of them players that, as a manager, you rely on them. Like, you're playing this week, but I need you to do a job for me. Like, you know, there. And I think that's Jack Payne.
Yeah, a word that's been used a lot has been the word character, and that is something that the team will need to take into this afternoon's match as well. As the players are making their way out onto the field of play, let's just refresh our memories and take a look at the starting 11, not only for Charlton, but for Morecambe as well. Dale, a really exciting opportunity for you to see the Addicts in action. What kind of display are you hoping for from us today?
Well, as I touched on before, I think there's firepower within this team. I think a little bit more consistency in terms of, you know, you don't want to be swinging too many goals each way each week. Like I said, I'm excited to watch, you know, after the back of the midweek reaction at MK Dons. They need to build on that, the remaining fixtures. Like I said before, about going into the summer with a good feeling. It's a perfect opportunity for that.
I think you're really going to like seeing our front three in action. And Curbs, there's a lot of players in that Charlton starting 11 who don't have a contract for next season, so they will be putting a real marker down, not only for themselves, but for their futures.
And Dean's problem is we've got players out on loan who are going to be coming back as well, who he obviously hasn't seen, because I think they went out as Dean came in. So, yeah, there's got to be a bit of an overhaul of the squad in the summer. And let's hope that the takeover gets sorted out as soon as possible.
Right, well, without further ado, it is time to hand you over to this afternoon's commentators, Terry Smith, Greg Stubley and Steve Brown.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thanks, Curbs. Good to see that Brownie's up with us.